Hello chicos, chicas, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do a book review because I have got a fair few goodies again waiting for reviewing. Today on the menu is going to be a recent publishing by New in Chess. The author is Thomas Willemze and the title is World Chess Champion Strategy Training for Club Players. And that's what this marvelous piece of work looks like. As far as I'm concerned, this title is mighty long, and with that I pretty much exhausted the negatives I wanted to talk about, and I can go on to the goodies, because boy, very rarely I come across a book where I just crack it open, I look at the structure, I look at how it's done, and I'm like, this has got to be some good stuff. And that's exactly what I thought as soon as I cracked this book open. I'm going to show you what this book does, and does so well. The way how the book is structured is that each big chapter is about a world champion. What I particularly like, by the way, about the selection of the material is that it's relevant, it's new. There have been lots of different criticisms around old books, the quality of all the books, and the more I look into them, the more I realize that this statement is true. And I think that the chess book publishing business is definitely not dying out, due to the fact that the recent publications are just so much better quality, so much more accurate, more reliable, that it's great to see new books coming out, often rediscussing old themes but using far more adequate examples. And this guy does it really well, and by this guy I'm referring to the book, not so much the author, although I should, but I would call him his name Thomas Willemze, and I am from Holland. So yeah, relevant, new, fresh examples. I mean, Fischer is hardly new, but Fischer is his oldest example, right? So we are going from Fischer up, Karpov, Kasparov, Anand, Kramnik, Carlsen, Ding Liren has a fair few. And so what it does, just so that I don't lose my thought, World Champion, one chapter dedicated to each champ. There is a bit of an introduction, and then comes basically the structure of each chapter is the following. You are given one diagram on a page with a question, and that's it, by the way. And you are supposed to answer said question. And from there on out, once you work yourself through, he gives a detailed analysis on the other page. Right here, explanation, and that's it. Done, dusted, on to the next. Now you would think that that's insufficient and it's not deep enough, but again, the structure is really clever, because many a time you will find that the same game is broken down to multiple diagrams, so you are going from one challenge to the next. And in that way, as well as in many other ways, this piece of work is marvelously well structured. Plenty of diagrams, by the way, even in the analysis. So even if you are just reading the book without a chessboard, it is quite enjoyable and easy to follow. And I really would like to credit the author here on picking up a trend that I think is something of a new thing amongst especially adult learners, and that is this newfound liking of flashcards, which is basically just a little snippet of a cutout of a position with a question and some answers. And what the author does is that at the end of the chapter, which I can't find because Fischer is a big boy apparently, very big boy. Here we go. So at the very end of the chapter, he offers you a full page with, in this case, 5 different flashcards. And what's really good about it is that he even thought about people, and I know that these humans live among us, by the way, just be warned, who buy 2 books of the same title, one for reading, one to cut out for flashcards. And so he offers you a really good, concise explanation of what's going on the flashcard, so you can cut out the diagram on one side of the card, put this on the flip side of it, so you can immediately read the correct solution and the matching explanations. Really, really good stuff. The examples are very carefully selected. I really enjoyed working through many of the positions. I have been using it a lot for my coaching. I would recommend the book very highly to coaches and individuals who are improving their chess alike, because they are very fun. I'm going to show you two examples that I sampled out from the book. This one is actually, I purposely went for Karpov because I always thought that Karpov was typically a world champion. Karpov and Capablanca are the two world champions that I would recommend club level players to study the least. And the reason for that is because their style is the furthest away from what club level players can imitate, replicate, and understand. As harsh as it is the reality, and therefore it seems to make the least amount of sense to me to study these guys. Having said that, once again, credit to the author, International Master Willemze. By the way, I hope I pronounce his name somewhat correctly. Hopefully my Dutch viewers will correct me if I butchered his name. He selected very good examples, really, really nice ones, where the theme is crystal clear and you can understand very clearly through his explanations what is going on. What I also really liked, and this is a mastery, by the way, of chess coaching, is that he asks really good questions. So each position, like I told you, comes with a question underneath. But the what would you play here is very often a perfectly insufficient way to approach a learning experience or a lesson. Here, for example, he asks the following question. Can you find a way to activate the white bishops? Now that is just, he literally ripped a page out of my favorite book, because I love to ask this kind of questions, which are somewhat intentionally misleading, but at the same time so clever in their wording, because as soon as you ask the question activating the bishop, your mind goes like, ooh, okay, where do I go? Where do I go? Bishop f3? No. Bishop f4? Oh, no. Bishop b2? Oh, yeah, that's right. I want to come back because this long diagonal is looking very delicious, and then I will play d5, and then it's going to be awesome. No. Now, it's not going to be awesome that way, because bishop b2 doesn't really do an awful lot here. Even after d5, we're not really having any threats. Okay, we do have the threat of rook takes e7, but I think black can navigate that issue reasonably well. The striking solution to the problem is that we don't need to move the bishops to actually activate them. What we need to do is to sack an exchange, eliminate the strongest defender of black's position, the e7 pawn, and thus making this bishop an absolute beast. And after the inevitable accepting of the exchange sack, now you do see that this guy is gonna be a monster. And thus we introduced a beautiful concept, a positional exchange sacrifice. The question was kind of misleading, but at the same time, I think it was really, really clever. And here we have a marvelous strategic example of how to turn something that is very apparently a superior position into something more tangible. And boy, did Karpov mop this up like an absolute champ. Rook f6 was played. The rest is really just carnage. d5. Now the bishop is coming back onto the long diagonal. Queen f8. Defending the rook, hitting the rook. Rook e3. And black is helpless against the pile-up on the long diagonal, but I will show you the end because it's very, very neat. Rook e5 was played, take, 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 and king f7. Black needs to run for the hills, and now it does look like white doesn't have an immediate finish, but Karpov was never known to be the guy who rushed matters. He just casually then creates a protected pass pawn on d6, and as per the cliche goes, in a style of a boa constrictor, he strangles the opponent. h5, g4. Now this is already the first sort of step in the coup de grace, because after take, take, the pawn on g4 is immune to this beautiful checking sequence of king f6, king e8, and queen takes g6, picking off the bishop with a checkerino. And if the bishop goes into enemy territory, well, guess what? Karpov loves a checkmate too. Check. And that was the point when his opponent Malanyuk threw in the towel, because after takes comes queen d5 with a marvelous checkmate on e7. Now, what I also really like about the book which is, by the way, a general concern to everyone who teaches chess strategy and wants to create content about chess strategy, is that you are facing this really difficult challenge of trying to separate tactics from strategy, but at the same time also, depending on the level you are writing it for, and this one being a book for club players is already quite manageable in the sense that you must convey the idea that strategy does not exist without tactics. It just doesn't work. You can't possibly play a strategic master plays without being tactically aware and alert throughout the game. And so the selection is quite good in that many of them actually feature sparkling tactical skirmishes, but that's just part of the deal, guys. And I think it's a very good lesson to learn that, yes, we are learning from Karpov, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to sack an exchange followed by a bishop in order to go after that king like there was no tomorrow. My other example is even better, in my opinion, in many ways. And again, the question was, I read the question and it sort of got me because, again, it's very cleverly worded. So the question here about this position, we are in the game Karpov Kirill Georgiev. The question goes along the lines of, here Karpov finds a way to put pressure on Black's weakest spot. Can you do it? I'm sure I can, except I don't know what the weakest spot is. So I had to look a fair bit to figure this out. But once I found it, I thought that, that was, again, really, really clever. By the way, just a side note, irrespective of book review, every time I watch Karpov games, I can't help but admire the dude's incredible ability to organize his pieces in a way that it always looks aesthetically pleasing. Like, look at this. Every single customer is on perfect squares. It's so infuriating to see that because I know I can't recreate this in my games anywhere near as often as I would like to. Anyway, weakest spot? Well, easy to find. Queen b3, right? Well, if you thought b6 I trapped you, it's not b6, it's f7. But to be fair, Queen b3 definitely does get the credit of creating pressure both ways. But we most definitely need to see that a subsequent d6 g3 idea, preferably in the other way around, is going to cause tremendous trouble on f7. Georgiev played bishop a8, at least to move out of the b file. There were some a5 ideas there, so b6 was to some degree a weakness. There came g3, a move, by the way, that a lot of club players would not even consider on account of, it weakens the long diagonal, which is the typical telling stories concept that I am also well known about, that you can't just go like weakens the diagonal when nothing is happening on the diagonal. There is a queen hanging, we have got a pending threat, so the concrete direct threats override the airy-fairy. Ooh, that looks scary. No, that doesn't. I tell you what looks scary, when the queen comes down here and then gets trapped with knight g5, because now all of a sudden e8 is hanging as well, and the game is over. This is scary. This diagonal, not so much. So, they drop back to b8, and now came the carnage, and I want you to be the judge of which diagonal is scarier if you happen to be one of those people who seem to be reluctant to play moves like this on account of the supposed weak diagonal. So Karpov goes d6. That opens both diagonal, the irrelevant one and the deadly one. Rook f8. Bishop takes f7. In for a penny, in for a pound goes Karpov. And again, his strategic mastery is rewarded with what? A tactical finish. Hence my point earlier about tactics and strategy not really separable. Yeah. Knight g5, beautiful. Knight pawn takes, knight takes. And now the remaining white pieces are going to absolutely demolish Black's defenses. Rook f8, and here comes the very flashy, very famous finish of the game. Rook e8, sacking the rook. Obviously, rook e8 now allows queen f7, rook e8 when white regains everything with interest. And so Georgiev took on d6, but after queen f7 check, king h8, and knight e6, it was way too much for the Bulgarian GM. f8 is hanging, g7 mate is on. This is no bueno. And so he resigned. So that is going to be the tail end of my book review of the World Chess Champion Strategy Training for Club Players. Whoops, I fall off my chair. Mighty good book. Really, really beautifully thought out. Well structured. Very nicely put together. Good questions. Nice diagrams. Very easy to follow. What I also like, which I forgot to tell you, but it's kind of obvious from the description of the book, is this bite-sized examples that you can just pick this book up when you have 10 minutes left of a lesson. If you are a coach and go like, okay, let's go, and you are good to go. Or if you are a player who likes to spend time on improvement and you go like, ooh, I only have 15 minutes. You pick it up, you open it up randomly, there is a diagram, there is your 15 minutes of learning, guaranteed quality entertainment and meaningful time spent on chess improvement. 5 out of 5 as far as I'm concerned. A really, really cleverly designed, well put together book. Kudos to Thomas Willemze and New in Chess Publishing. I do think that this is a gem that will be super popular on club level at the very least. So yeah, that was my book review, guys. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Other than that, please don't forget to sub, to like, to super like if you can, or super thank even. And please leave a comment down below, because that is ultimately what's helping the algorithm. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll be back with the next soon.